Greetings everybody, and welcome back to another ASMR video. Today I wanted to show off these sort of tripod things. These are all by a company named Ulanzi, I don't know how you pronounce it. But I have a couple of these ones, and I have a, what's it called, a phone holder, phone mount. And I do behind the scenes for my YouTube channel, my other one. And I bought these ones because I wanted something that's like very easy to set up and easy to use. These ones all have like a protruding center base and a couple of legs for a tripod. If I can get these out of here. So these have a base for tripods, and there's also a thread on the top for screwing on a camera. There's a ball head. Move this one a little bit more out of the way. Move this guy just a little bit out of the way. I have kind of a hard table, so I don't want it to do too many bumps and loud noises, because obviously I want this to be as relaxing as it can. So these are the legs. This is made out of just a sort of cheaper plastic. There's, I think, some metal here in the extension tube. The ball head here on this one is made of metal, but everything else is pretty much plastic. So, kind of the backstory. Let me move on to this larger one. I'll move this a little bit out of the way. Keep it extended for a little bit of aesthetics. But this one here is called a MT79. It's a tripod. This one is about 14 inches from the top to the bottom when it's closed up. So this one is mostly metal, if not all metal. Actually, there might be a little bit of plastic on this pivoting head at the top. So the head will pivot. It locked down pretty tight, so it's kind of difficult to pivot, which is good because you don't want your camera falling over. So, kind of a clicky sound here. So yeah, this has a kind of a head at the top where you can attach quarter 20 items, which is what this thing is here. I'll talk about it in a second. But so I originally got this one so that I can do behind the scenes And the way you open this is you kind of just put your finger at the bottom and then the legs spread out kind of evenly. And there also is a metal ring here, which means you can lock it down. So if you don't want to go all the way, you can lock it here so they won't move. And then you can move it back up. Hopefully this won't be too loud when you lock it. So this one is very easy to use because it has the 3 legs. It's fairly stable. You can just pull out the protruding rod, and this one extends to 80 inches, I believe, 79, 80 inches. It's very tall. It's enough for me to do behind the scenes when if I need to shoot over a table or just a kind of taller shot of the room or the space I'm working in. So this one's very, very nice for that. And you can actually hold it if you wanted to and use it as a selfie stick with it. Maybe extend it a little bit, or it's also kind of long enough that you can just hold on to the end and put your mount here, and that gives you a decent enough distance. This one's a little more unruly to use as a selfie stick than these smaller ones here. So I generally use this as kind of a quick setup tripod. And then what I do is I will attach this other phone mount here onto the top. And I got this one because I had an older one that was basically this portion here that broke. And I wanted something that I could put my phone on. So these jaws here are very thick this way, because I have a phone that has a MagSafe wallet on the back. And I didn't want to take the wallet off each time I filmed. I just wanted to pull my phone out of my pocket and then put it in here and then have it sit and be secure. And so that's the other reason I chose one with 2 thumb screws, because there are a few that are thicker, but then they have just the elasticy, or not the elastic, but the spring for the jaws, and those are pretty secure, I will admit, but I wanted something that was like super duper secure. So this one, I can place it in here and I can tighten this down on my phone as tight as I feel is necessary. And I know my phone's not going to fall out of this. So I had another one, and the thread stripped, and it was kind of just like a no-name brand. So that was the other reason I got this Ulanzi brand. Again, this video is definitely not sponsored, but everything in here is from this brand because they are a decent brand. And this one is made of all metal. I don't know if the tapping sounds are very ASMR-ish. But this one here is a little bit more bulkier than I wanted. Again, I had another one that was just this portion. It had a 1/4-20 in the bottom, and I could place just that on the head here, and that was super nice. But that one broke, and the company, as being a kind of no-name company, just is not around anymore. So I bought this one, and this one has this extended part, but it does allow me to use this little knob here and pivot the phone on the mount. And there's also a 90-degree slot here if I wanted to go overhead, which means I don't use the pivoting point on here so much anymore. I have it locked down pretty tight. So this kind of is like one main rod, and I just use this one. This one's really nice because it has a 1/4-20 thread on the bottom, 2 anti-twist little slots here, and then a 3/8 16 hole as well. And there's 2 other holes here, but those are for assembly. Also on the side, I have 4 total, but 2 on each side, 1/4-20 thread mounts, along with the anti-twist pins. So if I wanted to put something on there. And I do like that this thing is actually symmetrical. So there's a knob on the bottom, a knob on the top, and there's also a cold shoe on the bottom and on the top. So there's a decent amount of areas to mount things. Oh, and the other thing is you can see these little notches on the side. This is the same size as what's known as an Arca Swiss plate. So if you have a tripod that has an Arca Swiss mount on it, you can just place this right on here and it'll clamp onto it, no problem. So I feel like this is also a decently made, or decent metal, because that was the problem with my last one, was had 1 screw on the top, but that stripped out and got unthreaded. So as long as this one stays threaded and is a decent quality material of metal, then this is going to last me quite a long time, which is very nice. So I generally will put this on top of here. See if I can do this without making lots of clinky sounds. So what I'll do is I'll tighten this on as tight as I can get it. And then this is kind of 1 rod, and then I can undo this screw and I can pivot and rotate the camera or the phone as needed. So this is my main setup for doing YouTube behind the scenes videos, because I can just set this on the floor in a corner really easy and it's good to go. But what I noticed is there's many times where I wanted to do like a tabletop shot or like a low angle shot, and the lowest this will go is about, I think, 13 inches when it's kind of extended, and this is a little bit shorter. And that was a little bit too high for me, so I looked on Amazon for a shorter version of this MT79 and came up with the MT16. And so I bought this, it was on sale. This one's made of plastic, as mentioned. And I started using this, and then 2 things kind of popped out at me that I didn't like so much. The first one was maybe 2.5. The first one was to do with the legs. So when I have this on the table, this little center column almost touches the table, so I can't really place this over something when I set it down. And so that was a little bit difficult sometimes, depending on what the table looked like or the area looked like I needed to film. The other thing is I have to have this much space. So if I wanted to set it on something smaller or just set it in the middle of something where there's things around it, I can't really move the legs upward and set it there. They'll stay for a little bit, but if it gets moved around or if you're jostling the camera, these things tend to kind of like one side will open up, and it's not very easy to just put it where it's not open or fully closed. So there's the 1.5 little annoyances, and the other one was this extends 16 inches, which I found that wasn't long enough for me, because I wanted something where I could have about the length of this, but I could also go down less than that. So sometimes I would be doing like a ride along on a bike, or I wanted a low angle shot and I wanted to hold this down on the ground, and I found myself bending over quite a bit, not a lot, but just a little. So then I realized that this was not going to be long enough. So then I was just still kind of thinking I'll probably just use it until I can't use it. But I was on actually Temu, and this one popped up. And this didn't pop up on Amazon, which is interesting. What I've noticed is this is the MT79 for 79 inches extension. This one here is the MT16 for 16 inches extension. But this one here is the MT73, which is not 73 inches, it's not 73 centimeters, not even 73 millimeters. So I don't know if this is an older model or maybe a different model that doesn't show up on Amazon, but this showed up on Temu right away. And I started looking at the dimensions and realized that this extends out to about 23 inches. I'm not exactly sure total measurement right now, but it is just a few inches longer than my 16, which was really exactly what I needed, because I like just about everything about this, but I just wanted a few differences, and so this one checks all those boxes. So this one is a little bit longer, and then the other thing I really like is it has the legs that are all connected together, so these open up and close all at once. This does not have the red thread here, which allows you to lock it in place, but there is enough friction here where if I wanted to set it over something or use just a smaller footprint, I have that option with this MT73. So I ended up ordering it. Well, I found that out after ordering it, but as the story goes, I ended up ordering it, and now I have this one. And this thing has a button here on the bottom that you can push. It doesn't really make any very satisfying noises, but it is very satisfying to press. And this one has these tiny little hook thingies that you may not be able to see. And this one will lock the legs into place. So that it doesn't come open. And I really like that feature, and I really like just being able to push this button, which is really just a satisfying thing, but this one does not have it at all. This one, the legs are a fair bit easier to remove, I would say, because they're not locked into place, but it's just not as satisfying to use as the button on the bottom of the MT73. So these ones both do have a ball head at the top, a cold shoe on the side, and a thumb screw on the opposite side. But the other thing I really like about the MT73 that kind of annoyed me on the MT16 is, if you'll notice, the cold shoe and the thumb screw are about the same size, so I'd always be grabbing onto the cold shoe, rotating it, thinking it was the thumb screw. There are some notches in here, but it was sometimes when you're going quick, I'd kind of get them messed up. So with the style of thumb screw on the MT73, it is a little bit different. It's a little bit longer, a little bit bigger, a little bit just differently shaped. And I've found that I don't mix this up with the cold shoe almost at all, at least in the couple weeks that I've been using this one. So, really, this MT73 has solved all the problems that I had with the MT16. So, I'll be returning the MT16, but I just thought I would do a little video and show you guys. Maybe there's other ASMR enthusiasts who are also photography enthusiasts that are interested in this and didn't know about the MT73. Oh, one last thing is the plastic on the MT73 feels a little more robust. The handle is a little bit smaller, which to me, and I have large hands, so you'd think I would like the larger handle, but the smaller one feels much nicer in my hand. It feels like, oh, there is a tiny little taper on the bottom here. Feels like the taper is a little bit smoother. It's hard to explain through a video, but just in my hand, this one feels so much nicer as just even holding or using a selfie stick. So, all that being said is, I think I'll keep the MT73. I'll be returning the 16. And the other thing, I don't know if I mentioned or not, but when I do extend this thing all the way, this one goes up just a bit higher. Let me move this out of the way a little bit. So this thing here goes up just a little bit higher than the MT79, which is perfect because then it allows me a little bit of overlap. So I can use this one and go a little bit higher, a little bit lower, but then if I need to go all the way higher, I can just switch to the MT79. So these two, I think, are a perfect combination for doing behind-the-scenes content. And then, of course, I have two tripods if I do two cameras. Sometimes I'll put a phone on here and like a Osmo Action on here. And then I've got a couple different angles if I need. And then I'm all covered. So, I hope you liked this video. It was entertaining to you. And I will catch you in the next one.